can be a part of. Can't argue with that. I think that's a completely legitimate way to look at it. Smoke pants. You know, the Wii U is somehow indicative, according to Smoke Pants, of the eroding brand that is Nintendo. And this was an awesome post. I'm not sure if you guys read everything like I do, but I read all the posts that you guys put out there, and there are just some out there that I think just, you know, really not only just kind of expand the way I'm thinking about something, but it really adds to the conversation. And I thought this one did that. Again, I'm not sure I agree 100%, but at the end of the day, the Wii U, as an example, so there are two issues here. Is the brand of Nintendo eroding, yes or no? I don't know. I'm not sure it is. In fact, I think the Nintendo brand is fairly strong. I'm not saying that I really support what they do in a lot of the decisions that they've made, or that I'm going to buy a lot of the pieces of hardware that they've been creating over the last couple of years, because I don't really have an interest, but then again, I might not be the market. But that being said, I said this to Rue even recently, I can't imagine, even if Nintendo went Tango uniform on us, and all of a sudden it was just gone. You know, I can't imagine a gaming universe, I can't imagine playing video games in a world that Nintendo wasn't a part of it. I just can't. And to me, that shows that the Nintendo brand is strong and should be there. And I think that is a very big part of the success that Nintendo's had. It is their branding. It is the way that they show themselves. Now, so my opinion is it's not really probably eroding. But if it is, Smoke Pants is talking about the Wii U as being kind of the indication. You know, it's like Apple talking about Android segmentation and then segmenting the iPhone, right? Nintendo's always talked about how all these other vendors are trying to do all of these crazy things, and they're just idiots. Because at Nintendo, we do it this way, and now all of a sudden they're kind of doing something very different. You know, the Wii U is targeted in a very different way than the Wii was. And I think anybody out there who's seen any kind of pre-Wii U coverage can concede that fact. They're definitely trying to move back toward the hardcore gamer. They're definitely trying to get that third-party support the way that they didn't have it before. And at the end of the day, you know, it's a play that I'm not sure they can pull off, but it's out there. And so, you know, I think it's an interesting point. You know, maybe the Wii U is a sign of the times for Nintendo. That, you know, innovation has you can look at this anyway. Innovation's halted. Innovation's taking off. Whatever you want to take a look at. I just think the Wii U is a logical extension of the Wii, except it tries to go into places that the Wii definitely did not go. And maybe that's a sign of the eroding brand of Nintendo, but I'm not quite sure. Let's see. Grey Dog. This was a cool point too. Third-party games for Nintendo largely get ignored by the gaming press, by the general public, and by, you know, the gaming public, right? So, and I think there's some truth to this. You know, I mean, so the idea of a Bayonetta coming to Wii is awesome. I think it's a great idea, and I think it's a great sign that Nintendo has conceded the fact that they do need to spend a lot of time working on their third-party relationships. But what I would also say is that there are plenty of the Wii U probably has the best third-party support that Nintendo has had. This is a tough one, because if you talk about home consoles, then probably the SNES. If you're talking about Nintendo in general, then probably the DS Lite. In any case, the point is third-party support is very, very good on the Wii U. But you don't see a lot of coverage around that, and you see a lot of very negative press about Nintendo needs to hone up their image. So while I think Grey Dog wouldn't disagree with either of those things, that you know, they need to work on their third-party relationships, and they've secured a lot of third-party relationships. The point, and I think it's a good one, is that largely the third-party support for Nintendo gets ignored by the gaming public, because what the public wants to see and what the media want to be able to give out and portray to you are Mario and Zelda and all these other things, because they think that's all you care about. We've had a lot of Mad Worlds out there for Wii, for example, that kind of just got published exclusively and then just kind of died, and Resident Evil 4 almost suffered that fate. Thank God things got fixed. In any case, all right, let's see. How about The Real Sykes talked about the need for new stories and not new hardware, and I thought that was an interesting dichotomy, one that I'm not sure I can get on board with, because I think how has the cinematic medium changed over the last 50 years or even 100 years? Not all that much, right? So The Real Sykes' point is, hey, look at all the creativity that's gone through without really a ton of media changes for a long, long time in something like cinema. What differentiates cinema is its ability to, convey stories. Try to do a few different things here and there with character development and drama and blah, but really when you get down to it, what it's all about is stories. So I think we need to differentiate video games a little bit here, because your ability to tell the story on an NES is very different than your ability to tell a story, and uses a completely different set of apparatus as, say, a PlayStation 3. It might not be that much different in terms of what the possibilities of narrative are. So don't read me the wrong way. I just think we have to give video games a little bit more of a pass in that regard. That being said, I agree with you, The Real Sykes. I think you're absolutely right. I think a lot of times what keeps me going in a video game largely, there are two things really. One is really the execution of the experience in general. But number two, it is the story, it is the narrative, it is the kind of universe that you want to jump into and be a part of. And I think we could use a few more of those that are coming out right now. But I would argue actually that innovation is better in video gaming than it's ever been, and that's because there is such a huge breadth of video games out there, and people trying to make them, that I think we live in a unique age in that regard. Carrara 2, and by the way, it's great to see Carrara 2 back. One of the original Planet of the Grey Wolf patrons, and great to see Carrara 2 back. Talking about asymmetric gaming as a part of why the Wii U is actually going to be a great execution, going to be a great platform, why they're all on board. I think it's absolutely correct. I'm the idea of an asymmetric gameplay in a lot of different ways, whether it be tabletop or whether it be something that's a little bit more like what Reggie's shown off with the kind of zombies game, right? I mean, it's very interesting to see what kind of things can come from that. But the fact is that Nintendo is really, really focusing on that as a differentiating factor, and I don't necessarily see it as a differentiating factor. Asymmetric gameplay is something that anybody could really pick up, and if they thought about it long and hard, they could come up with new ideas of how to use it. I'm not sure that's unique to Nintendo, but it's absolutely 100% baked into the Wii U, and Reggie has let us know that time and again. So I agree. Lifa, new to the community this week, talked about the uniqueness of the Wii U as its crucial selling point, and I think, Lifa, you and I are on the same page with that. The best selling point for the Wii U is that it doesn't play with the rest of the boys. It has its own little niche that it occupies, and it is unique. And if you want the unique experiences on the Wii U, there's only one place to get it, and that's with the Wii U. Enough said. So if you're going to buy, if those experiences tend to be the threshold, and this is really the point of the whole shebang for me, we can really just jump right into my thoughts. My thoughts are the same. The whole shebang for this entire Wii U argument is: do you find the experiences that are available on the Wii U to be compelling enough to go buy it? And if you do, then you probably will. Everything else that everybody talked about with such as hardware, such as software that's available at the beginning. Mr. K, for example, mentioned that how the launch lineup really sucks. I tend to agree. There's a lot of difficulty in regard to if you're a person that really likes one of those games or really can't wait for the concept, then by all means jump in and get yourself going. And I wanted to also talk about Maze for a second, who did some really cool creative work for us this week, which, you know, I mean, she always does, but at the same time, and all of you do. I thought this was uniquely creative, talking about some of the new experiences that the Wii U really brings to the table that maybe you hadn't thought of before. Or maybe are things that people out there are thinking about right now, which is why maybe they're baking it up as we speak. That would be cool. We would all like that, right? So some of those things, and if you haven't checked it out, you know, you didn't read that post, go back and take a look at it. I think it really does bring a lot of cool ideas to the fore of how something like the Wii U can really be executed in a really incredible way that I think would differentiate itself, would give it that uniqueness, would provide unique experiences that go beyond that get us to the threshold of saying, yes, I want to buy this system. And Maze is definitely in, by the way. So I think that's a good, you know, I think that's a good preface for my own feelings, which is that I'm not going to be buying a Wii U at launch. Shocker, shocker, surprise. I know you're all just you know, your mouths are agape right now just thinking about how, oh my gosh, the Commodore's not buying one. No, I'm not buying one. But I am not going to go to the conclusion that I wouldn't buy one, because I think that I might over the course of time. I just don't. I know I'm not going to buy one at launch. There are, for every reason you guys said, I think if enough software developers show up, if the new experiences are what we think they will be, if the Wii U really does offer unique experiences not offered by anything else, then I'm in. But to this point, I haven't really seen that, and I especially haven't seen that right off the get-go and right out of the gun. I haven't seen that be I haven't seen that really execute. I haven't seen Nintendo execute on that yet, and that doesn't mean they won't. It just means they haven't so far. So there you go. That's my opinion about the Wii U, and you know, it's a great concept. I really do think they've done a great job with it. I'm just not buying one at launch. Okay, moving on. So, you know, I thought for a while about a couple questions. I had the questions I had on my list since the very beginning of the Weekly Wringer series that I wanted to ask you guys. And I started, as the series went on, I said, you know what, I don't want to do. I want to start thinking about new ways to ask questions in the Weekly Wringer. And one of the things I thought was just kind of like having a mini-series within a mini-series here. So one of the things I thought of, I mean, here at the Clan of the Grey Wolf, we're all about trying to bring attention and critical scrutiny, but also, you know, a critical lens, let's say. Not necessarily scrutiny, but a critical lens to really celebrate why the things that we love are so great. And so I was thinking about, you know, all these things that are just uniquely identifiable across the entirety of the community as being things that are just great. You know, the gamer community by and large sticks their finger out and says, that is awesome. That's an awesome thing. And if you're a gamer, you know that. And if you play games, you love that. And I think it's cool that we celebrate those kinds of things here. But instead of asking you about, you know, a nuance of those particular experiences or whatever the case might be, because I get asked a lot of questions about them, I started thinking about why don't we create a new little like subsection of the Weekly Wringers that ask about the awesomeness of some of the things that are agreed upon as being some of the best things in gaming. I thought this was a cool idea. So I'm going to do it today. So the idea is basically this. I'm going to say, you know, I will ask you, why is blank so awesome? And what I want you guys to do is to tell me. And if you think something isn't awesome and you want to go against the grain, then by all means tell me that something isn't awesome. You're totally wrong, dude. It's not at all awesome, and you're totally drinking the Kool-Aid here. Get it. You can absolutely tell me that. But I think what's probably going to happen is, you know, I'll say, why is blank awesome or so awesome, and then you guys will come back and there'll be a lot of different and varied opinions as to why. But I'm so excited to see what kind of comes out of this, because I think we could use this format for a lot of, I could ask you about a lot of things. I could ask you about software, hardware, levels, you know, characters, a lot of these things. Because a lot of times I ask you guys about the best of something, and you know what? After a while we run out of bests. And I'm not necessarily interested in the best necessarily. What I want to do is find out about the things that are great and things that we should be celebrating here. And so these kinds of questions, I think, will open up new avenues. All right, all of that to say this. The question for next week, it's going to be the very first time